Hi, Steve Moss, Moss Harp Service. I recently got an email asking what to do about buzzing with Salvi Levers. And since the very same day I got that email, I had a Salvi Anna to work on. It was a perfect opportunity to go ahead and shoot some footage. So I did shoot some film showing the kind of things that can go wrong with Salvi Levers and what to do about them. I also added to the end of this segment something I shot earlier dealing with the same question. Salvi levers are included on almost all Salvi lever harps, not all. The Junos, which is a new model of smaller harps, have a different kind of lever, and some of the top-end Salvi folk harps, like the Egan, I believe, have a different lever. But most Salvis have the Salvi lever that I'll show you in these videos. At one point I do talk about a couple of tools, and I didn't have their sizes in front of me and told you to Google it. Well, I went ahead and Googled it after I shot that footage and found out that their website was down, at least that day. So I did look up the tool sizes, and I'll include those on a caption. I hope this helps if you're having any troubles with this kind of lever, and if there's any other question I can answer for you, please give me a ring at Steve at mossharpservice.com. Thanks.
These are Salvi Levers, and there are three sizes. This is the large size, and they have a different look than the other two. The other two are pretty hard to tell apart. I'll move down here and show you a couple of the mediums. There's a medium. You'll see that the sort of the opening that you'll see the string passing through there is a lot more narrow on the medium than on the large. Here's the large again. See, there's that wide sort of a U shape, and you can see the string in there with plenty of room. And the mediums are more squashed in. And then these are small levers. They look almost exactly the same as the mediums, and this camera wouldn't be able to do justice to the difference. The little groove that the string fits into is a little smaller on the small levers. In practice, usually the third octave, this one here, going up F to E, that's usually where you find the medium-sized levers. So if you just make a note of that, if you need to replace a lever in that third octave, you probably need a medium. Something higher, you're going to want a small. And then something lower, you're going from fourth octave E all the way down. Trying to make you nauseous here, is large levers. And just troubleshooting the quickest things that go wrong with these are the lever itself. The whole lever can be loose. The screw that holds it to the wood can be loose, and that can mean a buzz when it's up, and also it'll even feel loose, like you can wiggle the whole lever around. Now that's pretty simple to fix. There is a Phillips head screw underneath there. See that? So you need to tighten that screw, and the kosher way to do it is to loosen the string and get it out of the way, because it tends to fall right in front of that screw. So you need to take the tension off of your string, get it out of the way, line that lever up with its neighbors, and tighten that screw up. Screw down in there. Right there. So that's thing number one. Now, if that screw is tight and the bracket of the lever, the part that's actually fastened to the wood, there's the bracket. If that's tight and you still have a buzz, oftentimes it is the cam, which is the moving part, that is not quite tight enough to the bracket. So, in that case, you can often kind of wiggle the cam, or wiggle the little handle of the lever right there, and you'll see a space open up right there where it's loose. And if that's the case, how you fix it depends on the age of the harp. They changed the design of these levers recently. I'm filming this in 2011. I think approximately 2006-07, they redesigned it. So any harp that's older than say 2005, most likely it'll be the old style lever, which this is. The old style levers have a rivet that fastens that together. I'm trying to get a good clean shot of that rivet right there. You see there's a rivet, and the only way to adjust that rivet is to take the lever off the harp and pound on it, which I will demonstrate shortly. And in order to show you a newer style lever, I'm going to need to take one that's off the harp. I have some with me, so I will do that as well, and I'll show you how to tighten those up. This is a newer style Salvi lever, and what is new about it is the way in which the cam can be tightened to prevent a buzz and prevent the cam from falling down when you don't want it to. The old style was riveted. The two moving parts were riveted together. This one has an adjustable nut. And so you can see right there, there's a nut. That's actually just a locking nut. I'll explain that in a second. And then there's another nut inside there. This one, it may be hard to tell from this camera, but this one has a hex-shaped head on it. And the outside one is a regular nut that you would use a regular wrench with. So I have a couple of tools that you need for this. I don't know exactly what size the outer lock nut is. I happen to have an small adjustable wrench, which makes it easy. I know that if you log on to salviharps.com, I believe that's salvi-harps.com, but you can Google it, they do somewhere give the sizes for all the tools you need to adjust their levers. The inside one is adjusted with what's called a ball driver. Ball driver is essentially an Allen wrench, but it's got a little groove cut towards the very tip of it, as you can see there. And what that allows you to do is come in at an angle. Theoretically, you can do this on the harp. In practice, it's kind of hard because the levers are pretty close together. But the reason I have these ball drivers is if I get lucky, I can actually do this on the harp. So that fits right in there. Now the way you actually adjust, I'm not going to be able to do this because I don't have anything to hold my camera today, but I can explain the procedure. You probably will want to take this off the harp if it's on the harp. It's going to be a lot easier unless it's like the very lowest one or something. You go ahead and loosen this outer nut with a wrench, and then while that's loose, you tighten. Assuming your lever is too loose, which is usually the case, you go in and tighten it by tightening right there, just a little bit. Very small amount will make a big difference. And when you've tightened it a little bit, you turn back around and you tighten this nut back down. So this is just like a lock. You open it, you loosen it up, then tighten the other side, and then tighten this back down. So it's like your lock system. And then you have to put it back on the harp and see if you did it enough. And hopefully you did. It just takes a very small amount. It sounds like a lot of work to tighten this, but believe me, it's a lot less, it's more control and a lot less trouble than the hammering on method for the rivets. This is what you do if you have a buzzing older style Salvi lever. And we talked about before, the older ones have the rivet on the outside as opposed to that nut that you can loosen and tighten. In this case, this lever was buzzing. The screw that holds it onto the neck was plenty tight enough, but it was still buzzing, and I could feel that this cam, the part that moves, was a little bit loose, and also I could put my hand or my finger up against the end of this cam and stop the noise, which led me to believe that the cam is vibrating against the bracket. So I took it off the harp, got this little spring clip that's attached to the back, and that just keep track of that, put it back on the way you found it, and here's a little Phillips screw that goes in there. I'll just get that out of my way. So what you need to do is tap on the rivet with a small hammer, like this one, and it has to be against something because you're tapping on the top and where this rivet is, but you need to have something underneath that's providing some resistance. If you just bang on it just like this, it's not going to do any good at all. So you need to have some kind of an anvil, any kind of round piece of metal that the lever will fit over, like that. So now you see I've got it so that the other side of that rivet is pressed against that anvil, and so then if I had one more hand available, I would go ahead and tap right on there with the hammer a few times. If you overdo it, you can smash that rivet to smithereens, and then your noise is going to be worse. So you want to take it easy, sort of light taps like that. You can see my little rig here. I am traveling, so I don't have a vise with me. If you happen to be at home and your home is equipped with a machinist vise in the garage or workshop, you can put your piece of metal in the vise and it works just fine. Actually better than what I have here. This is my road service setup. I've got a pair of vise grips and I clamp my anvil into there, and that gives me a nice portable anvil that I can use. And once you have tapped a few times on that, it should feel a lot harder to flip the lever up and down. And then you know it's probably a little tighter. And you go ahead and put it back on the harp just the way you found it, as close as you can to where you found it. And hopefully your noise will be taken care of.
Here, there we go. I'm going to stick that piece of metal into the vise like this, and just center up the camera a little bit. I'm going to take the lever and I'm going to put the inside of it right here down over that piece of metal like that and hold on to it. So now what I've essentially got is a little backing. So when I take my hammer and tap here, I will have something to stop the other end, to provide some resistance for my tapping, and that's going to end up tightening up that rivet. Now you don't want to wail on it too hard because you can actually obliterate that rivet. You just want to give it some good firm taps, like that kind of thing. A few of those. And you can wiggle a little bit and see if it seems tighter. It's going to be hard to tell. You won't know if the noise is gone, unfortunately, unless you get it back on the harp and try it. So there can be some trial and error involved with this. I skipped a step. I didn't tell you about getting the lever off the harp, but that's pretty self-explanatory. You just pretty much take your screwdriver and unscrew the little screw that holds the lever on. Once you've gone ahead and tightened up that rivet with your hammer, you're going to need to get the lever back on the harp in hopefully exactly the same spot where you got it off. And there are a couple clues that can help you figure that out. This lever has a couple of extra little screw holes. You can see them are on a diagonal on the, if I do it that way, the upper and lower end in the corners. You see those little holes? Those hold set screws, which help keep the lever from rotating under the string pressure, excuse me. If you have those set screws on your levers, there should be little divots in the wood exactly where the set screws were sitting, and you'll be able to sort of fit the lever right in where it was, just like a puzzle piece. If you don't have those set screws, it's a little trickier. You might find that you have a little spring clip on the back like this one. It's a little piece of flexible metal that helps to keep the lever tight. In any case, if you don't have a set screw to tell you exactly where your lever was, you'll have to do your best to put it back where it was based on any markings you might see on the wood. And then you'll have to test with a tuner to see if it's in the right place. It'll be able to play without buzzing in both up and down positions, and it will play a true half step between the up and down positions. So it's a good idea to maybe take a visual of where it is before you take it off.